Hey, what's up everybody? Gene Fetty back here for Kiko Body Repair Products. We are back with one of our Friday live streams to answer your questions about glue pulling. Today, I'm trying to step up and get rid of some of our technical glitches, so I've been able to upgrade our system a little bit. As you saw, we've got a title screen now. We can move right into there, as well as I've got the audio off of the main thing. Let me add this camera to it. And then we can get switched around to get going. Today, I want to answer a question that we keep seeing over and over again, and not just from body techs, but from PDR techs as well. And that is that we can't, people are having a hard time getting their smaller tabs to stick. So with that being said, I'm going to today show you how we can get our smaller tabs to stick all the way down to my favorite right there, the 9mm tab, and we get great effective pulls with it. So there's just a couple of things we need to go over to make sure we get that hard pull every time. With that being said, let me switch cameras and move over here to our test panel and show you just what to do. I think I'm also going to be able to see the comments in real time with this system as well. Comments. And there we go. So one of the biggest problems that I see with people not getting the small tabs to stick is not following the 6 C's more precisely, and that is making sure your surface is clean, making sure your temperature is good, no humidity, everything like that, and that's where we go. So first, I want to show you the biggest problem that body techs teams have, and that is with the big tabs, with our large centipedes, you can go right into setting it, and you've got a big window of opportunity. I set this tab right before we went live, so that was 2.5 minutes ago, and this likely is well beyond what we'll pull, so we've let it sit too long. I bet this comes right off. Well, actually, yeah, see how quickly that broke away? Your window of opportunity with these smaller tabs is much smaller than with the large tabs. So that's probably the first thing that you really, really need to pay attention to after you make sure your panel is clean and everything like that, is that you're not letting that glue set up too long. So to reiterate the 6 C's, clean the panel, 99% isopropyl, give it a good wipe. Temperature here today is in the 60s. It's a beautiful day, but we're in Pittsburgh. It's humid. I can feel like the moisture on my skin. We need to flash the humidity out of this panel. You see that fog that's coming off of there? That's humidity stuck in the panel. So we'll get rid of that. We don't want any of that moisture coming in and getting stuck on our tabs. I will also, if I'm having adhesion issues, and we did a whole, well, not a whole video, a short little video on this, sometimes you need to refresh that face of that tab. The torch works great for that. It's nothing more than this. Just one quick pass right over the face. That sort of seems to smooth it back out and resurface it. So we're there, the panel's warmed up. Today, for our smaller tabs and quicker pulls, I've got the gray glue that tab weld loaded in. Just like always, we want to coat the tab. Nice little, a little smaller than a pea. Give it that swirl to break the glue string away. Place your tab, and you don't want to squish all the glue away, but you want to make sure you set it down in a bed of glue. If you can see, I think we can zoom in here, that little bead of glue all the way around is perfect. Now I'm checking my glue. We're already out of stringy. We're already through Play-Doh. You can see that that set really fast, and we're able to start pulling. You can see I went a little too fast, we're a little warm, right? I didn't let it sit. Reading the glue. Let me show you on camera. We pulled too soon. So you see that texture in there? Anytime you see that texture, that tells you you pulled too soon. Also, if you end up with residue on your tab like this. You pulled too soon. So moving into a repair that didn't work, right there is why it didn't work and where we went wrong. Switching tabs because that other one has residue on it. I'll give it this, the same flash. More of the tab weld. Nice little bead. Swirl it away and place the tab in that bed of glue. Now we will let it sit. So we started with that first tab, then it was way too cold, or it sat way too long, it came right off. The second tab, we pulled too soon, right? Evidenced by the residue left on the tab and the texture left in the glue. For this, we'll let it sit perfect. If I really want to make sure that I'm absolutely ready to go, I will, let me zoom in here so see if you can see this. I will grab the head and ever so slightly apply a gentle twisting motion. If the head is moving, especially on these dead centers, but the face is staying strong, we should be good and ready to pull. I'll come in. Now lifting with the robo, we've got that nice line of sight here, and we can actually watch the metal being massaged up. Great adhesion. If we want to pull a little bit harder, add a little bit of pressure, and down in these 9mm tabs, I don't mind even giving them, with the robo, a little snap. So, just like that. Gentle pulls, nice hookup, easy to release, and it may have even still been just a touch hot. However, we were able to make that nice, very subtle high spot right there, if you can see that. So that is with, that actually may even be a 7mm tab, getting a great pull like that. We followed the steps, we cleaned the panel, we got the humidity out of the panel, we made sure to flash off the face of the tab. Now you don't need to do that every time, it's only if you're having adhesion problems. And then go on up and pull. Let me show you just how effective we can be. This is our newer 11mm dead center ice. This, as of late, in this hailstorm we're working, has been my absolute favorite go-to tab for glue pulling rails. The panel is already flashed off. We're not cold today, I don't need to rewarm. This tab is nice and shiny, so I'm not concerned with trying to reface it. When you see those faces get fuzzy and fogged out, that will create a problem. Let me get some glue on here. So just increasing the amount of glue we put on ever so slightly. Again, today we're using tab weld. So that is about a pea-sized drop of glue. Swirl it and break it away. We'll go right to the tab, and I saw a question come in. So while that is setting, we'll go check it out. Look at that nice little bead right around there. Yes, can I put a dent in and pull it out with a small tab? I absolutely can, Dawn. So let me knock a dent in here. Man, I'm used to taking them out and not putting them in. There we go. So Dawn, let me show you how strong this pulls, and then I'll move the camera over here to where you can see that dent. So same thing, this is our 11mm, following all of the same rules, and we are in, right, with plenty of power. You can actually see, if I can zoom in a little bit more, you can really actually see the magic of that dead center technology right there, flexing up in the center of the tab with that smaller shaft that pulls a nice tight high spot. Plenty of pulling power with just the 11mm tab by following the rules. Now I'm going to let that sit on there and really get cold and brittle like I see Body Tech's doing, and we'll come over here and show you this dent. Let me adjust this light a little bit. There we go. So Dawn, this is for you. Asked about seeing actually a dent come out. So we're going to go with that dent right there. General rule of thumb, I like to go about 75% the size of the dent. So I've got a 13mm dead center ice tab here. If I set that on for sizing, you can see we're about 75% of the dent. To make sure we're following all the rules, a little spritz of our 99% alcohol to make sure the panel's nice and clean. I am going to go ahead and flash off the humidity, so watch for the fog to come through here. That's the humidity leaving the panel, so we won't have a little layer of moisture form in there. 13 millimeter dead center tab. Our tab weld glue. Just about the size of a pea is plenty of glue. Swirl the string and break it away. I hope you saw that little waft of glue fly off of there. You also want to make sure that your glue is hot enough. So on our guns, we recommend 190 Celsius. With that being said, you want to see a little waft of smoke coming off and no bubbles, no boiling in the gun. That is setting up nice. Same thing. I can do that same twisting technique here where if I can grab the head and make sure I don't have any left to right movement, it's a pretty good indication that you're ready to go. Hopefully, yep, I left room there. So when pulling these dents with the Robo, we've got that nice opening. You want to look through here, and we don't want to just pop and rip the tab right off. You can gently massage it up. And while we're massaging it up, what we're looking for, let me grab a tab, here's my pointer. I am looking right next to either side of that tab, looking at the reflection to make sure I'm not pinching it high, and or if I can still see some low, like there's still a little bit of a dip there, I know I can pull harder and farther. So I can massage that up. Increasing the tension and letting go. It's still a little bit low on this side. Pull a little bit harder. Getting a great hook up. It's okay to pull to release because I kept watching. We didn't go right just to release. Let's get that off of there. And that release solution is just my little bottle for doing these small tabs. It's that same 99%. Just keeping the mess down. You can see right there, we got that dent up to a tiny high spot. Let me grab a hammer and knock down here. And tap that down. So, using my light, the light's very important here. And there you go, Dawn. That is how simple and straightforward it is to pull a dent out. Nice and easy, one pull, just a couple of taps and it was there. Hussein, thanks for coming in today. Whiston, back again from Cape Town. You are a regular viewer. You are here to see us every single week. So let's see how this tab holds up now that it's been sitting on there for, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes probably. And this is, again, where I see a lot of guys go wrong, is they walk away, and actually that's even still hooked up by following all the rules. Wow. Yeah. So if you get a tab that's stuck like that, what I don't want to see you do is come over here and try pushing it off, especially with these dead centers. If you start pushing like this, right, see how that shaft is just flexing right there? You're just creating a weak spot and wearing the tab out. If that's stuck and won't come off, little spritz of our 99%, and just hold a little bit of tension on it, like so. Just enough to release it. As soon as that alcohol wicks in there, it comes free. Nice and easy. Here's a good example of the proper amount of glue to be putting on your tabs. So you can almost, the tab weld is not a see-through glue, but you can see as I hold it up to the light, it's set down on the bed. I can't see through it, but it lets a little bit of light come through. That is about the perfect amount of glue. If we did that same thing, and I came in here and I've seen some guys online, some tutorials that say, hey, go and take your tab and squish all of the glue away, right? And they tell you to push it nice and flat like that, all the way skinny. It dries super fast, but you lose any of that spongy sort of rebound that's built into the glue, and it goes away. So I could see already that it was releasing in the center. And let me show you what this glue looks like when we hold it up next to our other one. So there's that one that, like, it is almost see-through compared to, see how much darker, well, there we go. See, so this is the proper one, and this is pushed too thin. Right next to each other, exactly the same light. See how much darker this color goes? You want that bed of glue in there. You do not want to squish all the glue away like that. That is not how to get a maximum pull. Gabby, dime or penny size. So this is the 13 millimeter right here is about the size of a dime. That's the tab size. And then that dent that we just pulled, sorry about that. The dent that we just pulled was every bit of a quarter. We'll go ahead and knock another one in and show you what I mean. I didn't hit that hard enough. There we go. Let's bring you over here. So that dent is, oh, this is just about a quarter size tab. And you can see still some distortion around that outside. So this dent is about a 50-cent piece size dent. For that, again, I like to go about 75%. I'll come back in with that 13 millimeter. Again, to get these strong pulls, follow the rules. Clean the panel, 99% isopropyl, like that. This time of the year, especially as we come into storm season, make sure you're getting rid of that humidity. Get that humidity out of the panel. If you are having an adhesion problem and you're doing all those steps, don't be afraid to flash your tab like that with your torch. That will warm it up. That puts that nice shine back on the face of the tab, makes it pull like a freight train. We'll go ahead and set this in here. Proper amount of glue. I just showed you what squishing too much glue away looks like. Now we'll set it in a perfect bed. About a pea-sized dab of glue right into the center of the dent. If you're going to miss with your glue, miss a little heavy. That might be a touch heavy, but I would rather see you go too much than not enough. I'll go right in front of here with a smaller bead like that. That's like maybe the size of a BB. If you put that down, there's just not enough glue even under the face of the tab. So if I sort of roll in here and show you, you can see that that little bit of glue didn't even go all the way to the edge of the tab. That also creates a problem for us. So let's check, give it a twist to make sure. Looking pretty good. Come right back in with our robo lifter. Right how we can see through. Start massaging that dent up, keeping an eye on the metal on either side of the tab. You can see that center shaft flexing, right? That's the dead center technology working, just how it's designed. Released. May have still been a touch warm. Let's come back here to the tab that doesn't have enough glue on it. See how quickly that broke away? This was a little bit too much glue, and I pulled a touch too soon. This was not enough glue, and you can see how ineffective it was. Over here, I think we probably, even with a not quite perfect pull, still managed to get our dent up. Yes, we did. Guys, if you have any questions on getting these little tabs to stick, please just put it right in the comments and I will get with you. So let me tap this down. I may have missed the dent just a hair to the left. So if you can see, yep, we've got just a shallow little low left. Dawn, back at it for you. We'll move right down to our 11 millimeter tab just to finish this off. Actually, you know what? We'll come down to a 9 millimeter just to show you how well it pulls. Same tab weld glue. This tab might be a touch small for this low, but I think we'll be all right. Set it down in that bed of glue. And we will let that set up. while that is setting up, any questions? This is following these steps. These tabs pull hard all the time. Again, 9mm, 7mm. I will take a second. Well, that's probably dry. Ready? And now this was a shallow low, but we've gone to a smaller tab. I do like to be a little bit more aggressive with my pulls. So instead of just massaging, I'm going to over pull a hair. Just a nice little snap. And that low is gone. Blockable for sure. Maybe one other pull if we want to go full paintless. But even that was a 50-cent piece size dent, gone in 2 pulls. So I will take a second here, and I want to talk about these 5mm tabs. So let me see if I can get that on camera. Yep, right there. So the 5mm are our smallest tabs that we have. It's a dead center finishing tab. For the body guys, I will tell you that likely this is a little too small for you. For the PDR techs, where do I use this tab? When I get out into a big flat piece of metal, say I'm glue pulling a roof, maybe it's a pano roof and there's no access, or there's one dent and we don't want to pull the headliner down, or even on a wide C-pillar or sail panel where the metal gets a little bit soft. This 5mm tab works great for almost like an orange peel kind of push. If you've got just the tiniest little low and you want to just pink and pull it up, that's where the 5mm goes. This trunk lid is actually a little bit too stiff, even with good pulls, to get much of a high spot out of these. But you get out into that big soft metal and these work like a dream. Your window of work time on these is super small. So when we're doing, you know, like an 11mm tab, it might be good to pull at 30 seconds. And then we saw even that one that sat for 5 or 6 minutes was still good. But really 30 to 60 seconds is like the perfect window. When you get into this 5mm tab, you are looking at like, you might be good at 20 seconds, and by 25 seconds, you're dead in the water. So play around with the set time. But when you get it, this tab, the pull that it gives you is about as precise as we can push with like a bullet tip. Great finishing tab, but a little finicky to use. Body techs, I would stay away from this. If you're going down to this tab, you're likely taking the repair a little bit too far. You are well beyond blockable by the time you get to the 5mm. Yeah, Michael, it is a great tab. That's really this whole line of dead center tabs. Almost makes it too easy to glue pull. I got to remember, you know, going back to when I started, it was like, oh man, we have to glue pull. Anything but that, right? We would struggle for an hour trying to get a tool on something. Now, and the newer techs really bring this to light. They're like, well, why don't you just glue pull it? And I'm like, oh, you're right. Let's go right to the tab and get there. Save on all kinds of R&I. Save on the liability of burning the backside of the panel. Today I had an Infinity in here with the 360 cameras. If we have to disconnect or remove any of those, we're gonna have to send that car out for calibration. These tabs let us pull the way we push. I see another question come in. Let me check it out. Yes, Chris White, that is exactly what we're saying. That is exactly how to pull it. Just a pea-sized dab of glue. In fact, we'll come right back over here to this camera and we'll go right through that for you. That perfect pull. So we'll do a perfect pull here. Again, the 11mm dead center. I'm going to give my panel a spritz of alcohol to make sure there's no contaminants. Flash it off with our torch to get rid of any humidity. Just for good measure, give that tab a reface, just like that. Again, that's just a move if I'm having problems. I'm following all the rules and it won't do it. That little flash will make all the difference in the world on the tab. That's ready to go. We are using our tab weld glue today. One little pea-sized dab right there. We have got a nice little dent right here, right into the center of the dent. Perfect amount of glue. Let me zoom in on that for you. See that nice little bead of caulking all around the outside of the tab? That is exactly what we're looking for. That's about the perfect amount. To check it, if I really want to make sure this pull is dead on, as tough as I can make it, I'll grab that head after it sits for a few seconds and give it a little twist. You can see that head is moving, but the face of the tab is not. That means it is dry and ready to go. Gently massage the metal up, just like that. That's part of the beauty of the Robo, is you can see right through and see exactly what you're doing. As we're pulling, I'm keeping an eye on either side of the tab, right here and right here, to make sure we're not over pulling. Anytime you over pull and make a high, you're just creating more work. Just like that. As soon as you see that there's not really any low on either side of the tab, and I can see it plain as day in person, it might be a little tricky on camera, you can go ahead and release. Little spritz of the 99% alcohol. Come back in with our Robo and just hold a little bit of tension for a second. Let that alcohol work. It's really hooking up today. There we go. Clean our tab off. Give it a wipe, and we should have either flat or just a nice little high spot, ever so slightly high. If you were in a body shop, that little tiny high spot would block right out. We can come right in with a knockdown and tap it out to flat. Hair of a low on the backside. If you were at a body shop, that would block out perfectly. Here, we'll go with a 9mm tab. Right there, you can see that nice shine on the face. We just cleaned when we wiped off. We just flashed off our humidity. Little dab. Maybe a hair heavy on the glue. Again, if you're going to miss, go heavy and miss heavy with the glue. A little bit stringy. It needs to sit up for a couple more seconds. Dustin, you said you noticed I'm not checking the temperature. Is it because it's warm enough where I'm at? Yeah, we are probably, at this point, 70 degrees or so in the shop. So we're not dealing with panels cooling down. When I flash that off with the torch, that warms the panel up, and we're getting great pulls and going right at it. So when you're dialed in and you know everything's going right, there's not really a need to check the temperature every single time. If you're having problems, go back to the 6 C's. Make sure you clean it. Make sure your temperature is in that 75 to 85 degree range. Make sure you're flashing your humidity off. If you don't have a torch, just heat the panel to 120 Fahrenheit, and that will evaporate it all away. Working that little low behind. See how much we can move that metal even with a small 9mm dead center tab. Right, just massaging it back and forth. Probably over pulling a little bit, but I'm trying to show you guys just how effectively these little tabs stick when you're following all the rules. Our dent was right there. I can see just a touch of a high spot. All that needs, at a body shop, you're blockable. Literally 2 little taps and it's flat. Mr. Alexandru, I can't pronounce your first name. So you said the sound is different from a good pull and a bad one. On a good pull, you can hear a bang. So yes, if you're pulling hard and you're snapping it off, a good pull does have a snap. These tabs pull strong enough that you do not necessarily need to go that far. If you start pulling and it just pops off or just comes loose, you know instantly that it was a bad pull. Let me see. Hey, Harold, thanks for coming in from West Texas. Michael, Gabby, Don, Dustin, Chris White. Guys, thanks for watching. Let me flip this around here and get back on camera. All right, last call for questions about making your small tabs stick. As you saw today, even the 9 and 7mm, when you're following the rules, stick and pull like a champ. Make sure your panel is clean, 99% isopropyl alcohol. Get rid of that humidity. If you're using a torch, just watch it flash off. If you're using a heat gun, 120 degrees Fahrenheit. If your glue is it leaves a residue on the tab or it's fuzzy on the panel, you didn't let it cool down quite enough. If it shatters and breaks away, you waited too long, walked away, the panel got cool. Check your temperatures. 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit is the perfect temperature. Last call for questions. Yes, so Dawn is talking about not pulling highs. Correct. If you take your time and really work the metal, you're able to watch, especially with that robo, how the metal comes up. And as soon as it disappears next to the tab and there's no high spot and it's not low anymore, you know you're pretty good. Release it and the panel's flat. I think Hudson Tansey worked with a gentleman at a hailstorm last year, and his goal was to not have to tap down. He was trying to be that precise with his glue pulling. So it can be done, and it does make for less work and less margin of error. Hey, Jay, thanks for coming in from Pennsylvania. Guys, that's it for today. Make sure you like our page, the Kiko Body Repair Products. Come back next Friday for another live stream and send in your questions. What questions can we answer for you on these? We got this one right from the group. We kept seeing over and over again, guys having a hard time getting these small tabs to stick. I hope I took care of all of those problems for you today. Stay safe and stay healthy. I'll see you next week.